So, listeners may remember back when this podcast was called The Socialist Shelf, we covered Hillbilly Elegy. This was in 2024. JD Vance had just been announced as Donald Trump's vice presidential pick. And I said something along these lines.
You've got our thoughts now on the jolly dimwit Vance. Folks, all I can do is say, if this man is our vice president, I don't know. We'll have a magic player in the White House, and I don't know how I feel about that. I think that's the biggest thing that we have to avoid. As someone who knows about different magic decks, is in anywhere near the halls of power, despite their ideology. I just think that we're going somewhere wrong as a society. And I'm saying this on a pod with two magic players.
I mean, if there's a magic player in the White House, and it's a fucking Voltron player like I imagine JD Vance is, we've lost our way.
As far away from power as we can possibly keep him.
Thank you for listening to Socialist Shelf Radio.
I knew having a Magic the Gathering player in the White House, a cringe millennial, a heckin' doggo of a man who was also conservative, was going to be annoying. But Jesus Christ. Let's get into it.
What could be, oh, what could be? Power of the union and the socialist dream. Everything I can need, oh, I need, oh, I need, oh, I need, oh, what could be? Oh, what could be? Oh, what could be? Oh, what could be? Oh,
Welcome, listeners, back to Workers Lit, your favorite podcast about being a heckin' doggo, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm
I just
Aisha.
know
We got
he said that at some point. I just know he has. I can tell.
absolutely. We got Jacob, we got Lenore, and we have a very special guest. You know him, you love him. It's AJ from the Worst of All Possible Worlds. How are you doing, AJ, on this Monday morning?
Here's what I'm gonna say. Yesterday we recorded an episode with Radio Free Tote Bag, and now recording an episode with y'all. I've just spent like the past 24 hours with some of my favorite minds, just in general. So I'm really happy to be here with all of you. I have never hated someone quite like I hate JD Vance.
Yes.
JD Vance is every smug know-it-all asshole I went to Catholic high school with, like rolled up into one fucking guy. He's like the final boss of my childhood, and I am so glad I get to talk about his terrible book today.
Yeah, JD Vance is kind of like if C.S. Lewis wore a cardigan.
He would
And
be
also,
so flattered.
Listen to Cardigan by Taylor Swift.
True.
Yeah.
He's a millennial, goddammit.
He is, and he wants you to know it. He literally at one point calls his Senate run a quirky intellectual exercise. And I'm just like pointing at him like, millennial.
I feel like that, I mean, like we tortured AJ by making him read this book, but also I feel like this book like made me want to kill myself. Like I know that like we joke about that, like that is a joke that I make a lot because I'm also a millennial, so I love to joke about wanting to kill myself. But literally, I was like, what is the point of being alive?
Like somebody like this can wander the halls of power.
Right.
Yeah. No, like I was reading through this. It's again, I was telling Jacob earlier, it's not the worst book that we've ever read on the show, certainly, but it is certainly one of the most cynical, I will say.
Yes.
Agreed.
And I think insidious because of that, right? Because you're reading it along and there's nothing like reading Ben Shapiro's book, which you have also made me read. There's something in that like is so inherently bad. Like Ben Shapiro is just a bad writer, and he's a bad, like, he can't frame arguments particularly well. JD Vance is better at framing arguments, right? And he has this sort of folksy quality about him. But once you see, like, the way he constructs his arguments, it's always like, here is an objectively bad thing. But is it so bad? really? And I think that is actually more dangerous than someone like Ben Shapiro, who is just a full-throated, bigoted ideologue, because JD Vance is trying to sell you his bigotry through, like, well, this is just common sense, don't you know? And it's like, it's not JD.
Well, we come to the other sort of half of that coin, though, which is, okay, but how does he sell, like, his normalcy? Because shot throughout this entire book, to an even greater degree than Hillbilly Elegy, I would say, he is so desperately trying to appear like a regular guy.
Yes.
Right. It
Just a
made me
normal
think
guy.
of the classic video of him when he was ordering donuts, and he says
At a donut shop I've been to, by the way, and Valdosta.
Really?
at a donut shop, and he's like, jelly, cream filled, whatever makes sense.
Whatever
Which
makes
is just
sense.
like a psychotic thing to say when you're ordering food.
Good. The zoo has come to town. Thank you for letting us come in here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Looks like is everybody else in here? All right, one of the few. Okay. I'm JD Vance. I'm the Vice President. Good to see you.
Okay.
And just a random assortment of stuff.
Beginning of July.
Okay.
For this year.
Okay. Good. How much you, sir?
Almost 2 years.
Okay. Good. How long?
Everything.
Just everything. Yeah, it'll be a lot of glaze, cinnamon rolls, just whatever makes sense.
Ma'am, if you don't want to be on film, you're good.
Ma'am.
If you don't want to be on film, you're okay.
Yeah.
I work in a pastry shop, and listeners, if you ask what is good, the answer is everything. What do you want?
It's a pastry shop. Like,
The answer is there's like 16 people behind you. My manager is screaming at me from the back. Brother, just get anything.
Yeah. Point at something. I will bring it to you.
I have to note that donut shop is excellent. It's really good. I have to say, what's good? It's their eclairs. This book,
Jacob,
is
do you go in there and just like whatever makes sense? Is that your normal order? There is just whatever makes sense.
That is the thing, though. Asking what is good is a normal thing to ask. It's you're not expected to be told like the best thing. You're just expecting them to help you with your decision paralysis.
Right.
Saying whatever makes sense, it is just a bananas thing to say when you're ordering donuts, especially because you can get like 12 of them. You could be like, give me one of everything.
You got options,
I'm
JD.
hungry. It makes sense.
You're the vice president.
Well, he doesn't believe in transubstantiation, so maybe he thinks the donuts turn into the
doesn't
body.
believe in a lot of
That's another
we'll
thing.
Get into that, Jesus.
I feel like that this book has made me more Catholic than I was before I read it, because it made me so righteously angry as a former Catholic, that I was just like, nope. He's not a Catholic. He's not.
He's not. I think he hates Christians. But
Oh, yeah.
I think we'll get into that as we go.
The book is Communion, Finding My Way Back to Faith. It is the newest book we have ever covered. Cecilia Tan's record broken in just a few weeks. And golly, do I wish we were reading another Cecilia Tan book. Shout out to Cecilia. She said she's been listening to some episodes, so shout out Cecilia.
Hey.
If you're listening.
Yeah.
You're
Hi,
great.
Cecilia.
I
like your books. I'm reading them slowly.
How did y'all what was y'all's reaction when y'all heard like JD Vance is writing a book about his Catholicism? My first thought was, isn't he the vice president? And then I realized once I read this book that this is mostly his blog post from the late 2010s that he has re-edited, that he has edited.
Yeah.
So that's why.
It is. I expected, because the stereotype of the adult Catholic convert is, because of the, ecumenical council of like 489 or whatever, women shouldn't drive, right? So I expected a lot more weird and out of context, like doctrinal nonsense in this book than actually there was.
Yeah.
It's really more of Hillbilly Elegy too.
He doesn't know any doctrine. Like, he knows weird crank shit that trad caths argue about online. But he also is like, me and my family attend mass on Zoom, which, brother, unless Zoom is like putting a hand out and being like the body of Christ and you're getting communion through Zoom, you're not attending mass.
There's a gesture for that, I think. I think if you put your hands
if you
forward
dab
out, if you dab, they will
That's
give
what the
you a
that's
little
what the little hand emoji as you raise your hand. You know.
Usha's giving him communion while he's watching the video. I think that's what's happening.
And editing his book and
Yeah.
basically taking care of him. Like, look, they're wife guys, and I understand this as a thing, but there's also like, I think JD Vance is a baby. I think he's just a big baby. It sounds like Usha is taking care of him every moment of his life. And it's like, leave her. She's got other things to do. She's got to visit her in-laws in San Diego. Get out of my hometown, JD Vance.
She has to
Get
take
out of there.
care of her 5,000 kids or whatever.
There's there's an apocryphal story that while going through Arkansas, and this is definitely not true, that but I think it's relevant, that Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton stopped at a service station, and the guy that was working there was Hillary's ex boyfriend, and Bill was like, "Oh, you could have been married to a service station guy," and she's like, "No, you would have worked at a service station, and he would have been president of the United States." And I don't know, and I think that's actually true with Usha and JD. That is not handing it to Usha.
Yes.
She is evil in her own right, but like, she is clearly like, any intellect that's happening in this couple is clearly coming from her.
No, I do think the sheer wonder with which Vance talks about her intellectual pursuits and her ambition and whatnot, he comes by that honestly. I think she has like sauce, again in an evil direction, but sauce that he could only ever barely even dream of.
She's also a fellow podcaster. She has a podcast for children where she reads books. That she had Donald Trump on recently, and let me tell you, that's unsettling. I watched
Has she
a little
read
of that.
Kash Patel's books?
No, she reads normal books. I think she's like
Usha,
smart
come
enough.
on the pod.
Yeah, we'll have her on. She needs our help. I was looking at her numbers, and they're not great.
Well, maybe she
The
can
publicly
finally
available
discuss
numbers.
If on a Winter's Night a Traveler.
Well,
Yeah, we
she's
can
going to get a
put her
bump
on.
because I'm going on at the end of the week. So
Hell
Yeah.
Yeah, you're reading
Let's
this book,
go.
and y'all are gonna make fun of it together.
I'm reading this book out loud.
Well-
staring unblinking into the camera.
This book is it's got a plot. Yes, it sucks. It's got a plot, but it kind of forgets about it a lot. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna give you kind of a basic plot summary here of what happens throughout this, and then we're gonna kind of go theme by theme. We'll refer back to some of these individual events, but just to give you an idea. I've named this book was originally, I think, supposed to be Hillbilly Elegy 2, Dance Vance Revolution, but we don't have that here. And so what do we have out of James Dean Vance? I said all my good ones on the last episode, so all I've got is Jackson Dart Vance. I thought of that one. The quarterback, Jason Derulo Vance. I didn't think of that one last time.
That's a good one. I like that one.
He has to say it before.
Judi Dench Vance.
Judi Dench Vance is really good.
She doesn't deserve
I came up with Jabberwocky Dicked Vance,
There's
which implies either he has the dick of a Jabberwocky or he has been fucked by a Jabberwocky, and I like either.
And it goes snicker snack.
The only one I came up with that wasn't just a fucking celebrity name was this is kind of celebrity name too, but it's Johnny Doxville.
That's good. I liked what did I have? I had Jupiter Descending.
Jupiter Descending is good.
Jojo Dodo, Jenkum Drinker. That one's mean spirited.
Yeah. Well, let's see.
Drangle and Dongle.
Okay, so at first we just get a recap of a lot of shit from Hillbilly Elegy. Again, we'll link that episode in the description. People can listen to that if they want the part one. For obvious
Great
reasons, we're
episode,
not
by the
doing
way.
an author bio. That episode is an author bio. It's a 2-hour author bio.
Also, he's the vice president. Go
yes,
look
you
him
know
up
who
on
he is.
Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Did you know he had he had a grandma he
Meemaw?
really loved and has no sexual feelings for whatsoever,
not at all.
based on his attraction to Usha, saying
Yeah.
that she's like his grandma. That's one of the things he loves about her.
Oh, I missed that completely. Oh my god.
Well, Mama gets referenced numerous times. First of all, I hate it because I call my grandmother Mama, so
Well,
upsetting.
Mama sounds way cooler than JD. TBH.
Still the best
Oh
character.
yeah, she like in Hillbilly Elegy too. We also say this. Like she's like, yeah, like healthcare should be free, and like Terminator's my favorite movie, and I'm like, she sounds like a real
Based.
person. I'm sure she
She's
had some
kinda
bad
based,
beliefs, but she sounds like a real person.
Well, on the
You know?
subject of Terminator, have you noticed in the prose of this book, like, it is, compared to Hillbilly Elegy, it is larded down with film references. You can't go like a couple of pages without JD Vance going, "Oh, this reminded me of something that happened in Terminator. Oh, I was watching Full Metal Jacket the other day, and it was like this, you know. Godfather
Yeah.
Part 3, remember that?"
Yeah, everyone's favorite Godfather, the third
He's trying
one.
to prove that he's a real person and not an alien.
Yeah.
Yes, by quoting TLC. At one point, no scrubs. I dissociated when I hit that section.
So we get some references from the first book, and then God saves him in a car, and he was like, "That was awesome." That's not true, by the way. That didn't happen.
Okay, yeah, that's this book is full of fake anecdotes.
Yes.
My favorite one about this one is he's like, okay, picture this. I'm driving on a winding road. It's raining. My car starts sliding towards the cliff. And then I slammed on the brakes. Miraculously, my car stopped. I'm like,
on the radio, Boulevard of Broken Dreams.
JD, that's what the brake does. It makes your car stop.
What?
Brother.
Impossible.
So he's like, it must have been a miracle. Americans, I was telling my dad about that anecdote, and my dad is Muslim, but like he, you know, has lived in America for most of his life. So he's like, Americans love miracles. They're obsessed with, like, even Catholics who aren't like, you know, like non-charismatic sort of like miracles. I feel like that aren't like such a thing in Catholicism. Well, American, like, white American Catholics are basically just Protestants. We'll get into my theory, because my mom was Catholic for most of my life, and she just is a Protestant.
Yeah, it's fascinating because, like, miracles just prove that you are God's special boy, which is what I think JD wants more than anything. He wants to be the special boy. And it's just speaking to, like, anecdotes that absolutely didn't happen. He has this quote where he says, "Some years ago, I was driving through rural Indiana with a teenaged family friend, Wesley, when he shared that his mom had recently tried to commit suicide." First of all, no, you fucking didn't. And second of all, do you like gladiator movies? Why were you driving with your teenage?
Shut up, Wesley.
Like, yeah, shut up, Wesley. Like, again, it's full of these things that it's like, oh, middle America will relate to you if you just make yourself sound more human. But in doing so, he just makes him sound more of an alien.
Right.
Also, what kind of teenager's name is Wesley?
It's awesome.
Wes, at least.
Yeah.
He moving forward, he goes into the Marines, he goes to Afghanistan and Iraq, he spends some time there, and he reads a lot of C.S. Lewis and Foxholes. He claims, "I craved Aslan's presence," which is a crazy thing for the Vice President of the United States to say about his time occupying Baghdad.
He wanted to fuck that lion.
He did.
Come on.
And who can blame him? It was only a human moment, really. He becomes a Randian. He stops being a Christian. He goes to Ohio State, where he says, "Whatever virtues Leonard Skinner's simple man had, I was transforming myself at Ohio State into nearly the opposite." And then he implies he fucked a lot.
Yep.
That was cool.
He can't, but like, he has to pretend to be a conservative. So he says, "We would go out looking for girls," or like seeing girls. I'm like, this just comes off so weird. I was like, you mean you were having sex with girls? Like,
No. He just liked to watch.
Yeah, I saw you from across the bar and I liked your vibe. I'm not trying to have sex with you. I just like your vibe.
No. The vibe is just really good. Yeah.
that is actually a good way to sit in the bar. Just look at people and like their vibe. I think that's one of the normal things he does. The big problem with all of the early parts of the book, I think, where he's like outlining all of the problems in like the country that he noticed through being a special elite, and then he decided not to be a special elite, but all of that falls flat because he's the fucking vice president.
Right.
And if the moral is like you shouldn't be a social climber, the moral is you need to be a social climber in a God-honoring way. But all of like everything he says is ultimately worthless and has no punch or meaning because he's a conservative writing for a conservative audience. So he can't say the problem is capitalism.
Right.
So he can't also like he can't do the thing he does in Hillbilly Elegy when he's like the problem is all these stupid poor people because the stupid poor people, quote unquote, are his constituency now. So he just repeatedly is like, what's the problem? What's the solution? Who can say?
Yeah, that's the thing.
God.
His rhetoric has so fundamentally shifted from Hillbilly Elegy. You're absolutely right. Like the Wall Street Journal review points this out a little bit. Like it says that previously in Hillbilly Elegy, what does he say? Right, these problems of poverty, of deprivation, ripping through my culture, my community. They weren't caused by any government. They weren't caused by any corporation. We caused them. Only we can fix them. And now he's throwing out. He's paying lip service to like offshoring, whatever. This or that thing the capitalists are doing to depress like wages, and it's like, but there's no substance to it. There's no, sort of like in abundance, like you can point out structural problems, but you have no theory of establishing a regulatory framework to solve them.
Right.
He then goes to Yale. He meets Usha and falls desperately in love with her. We'll talk more about that in a minute. He then meets Peter Thiel.
Oh boy, will we.
He meets Peter Thiel, a Catholic, and it blows
Falls
his mind.
desperately in love with him.
Yes. He's the only young man that has survived hanging around Peter Thiel for very long.
He's never been in a hotel room with him.
Yeah, well, he starts reading St. Augustine. We're supposed to believe he never realized parts of the Bible could be non-literal before he read St. Augustine when he was like 29. He tells us about
speak highly of his intelligence, right? Like
exactly.
That's a bad sign.
The excerpts. God, there's a lot of excerpts in this book. You know that he was trying to
gotta fill
add
those
word
pages.
count.
He has a whole block quote that is one whole page from Hillbilly Elegy. It is maddening. The whole, and again, I have 7 points in my notes that are like, who edited this? It's Usha. It's Usha.
The only parts of the book that I did not skim were the block quotes of what's his fuck? Oh gosh,
St. Augustine.
Yeah, Augustine. You literally just said his name, and I immediately forgot. I almost said Sir Thomas Aquinas, and he's not reading Aquinas. There's no way. But yeah, St. Augustine, because St. Augustine is a good writer who actually has interesting things to say. I read a lot of St. Augustine in college, and he's an incredible philosopher and scholar, and JD Vance just does not understand him at all.
His beach is really nice, too. I really appreciate his beach. He tells us about being a never Trumper. He downplays the fact that he called Trump Hitler and things like that in 2016.
Oh, yeah. Backpedaling like the wind.
He meets Rod Dreher, becomes friends with Rod Dreher. Rod Dreher, the man who wrote the phrase primitive root wiener once. Real normal guy. He officially becomes a Catholic in the middle of a series of pedophilia scandals in the Catholic Church. Then COVID happens. And okay, I have a quote that we just have to share it. I had nowhere else for it. AJ, would you be okay with reading this? This is in the notes.
Absolutely.
It's right under the part where it says COVID happens. Got to share this.
I drove by a sporting goods store and bought 1,000 rounds of ammunition. Then I went to Walmart and bought enormous bags of rice and flour, 20 pounds of ground beef, and excessive amounts of ketchup. An old woman behind me in the checkout counter looked at my cart suspiciously. "Do you own a restaurant?" "No," I replied. "But the China virus is coming." She looked at me like I had an arm growing out of my forehead. Yes, of course she did, JD! What the fuck, man?
Also, this didn't happen. You didn't do any of these things.
No!
The China virus is coming.
And okay, here's the thing. JD throughout this book reveals that he is one of the most paranoid people alive, right? He doesn't need therapy. He's got the church for that, right? But I've never seen someone more in desperate need of a Xanax, perhaps in book form in my life.
Well, what is it? Was it like they've done like studies on conservatives' brains and they are more scared than we are?
Yeah.
Because they just have like their fear receptors just light up way more than ours do because they're just terrified of everything.
Very scared. He's a frightened boy. He then runs for Senate, which he describes as a quirky intellectual project. And he goes to as Senate. He goes to Munich. He's mad during the Munich Security Council. They're talking about the recent invasion of Ukraine rather than God. He becomes vice president. He kills the Pope. Charlie Kirk and his dad die, and he says Usha relents on having another child because of Charlie Kirk's death. I'm sorry to brute force the plot so quickly, but the book is. I just wanted to let people know that's the outline of the book. That's how the thing goes.
Yes.
That's the arc here.
I like that he's like, Charlie Kirk dying made my wife want to fuck me. It made her really horny.
I'm so sad that I was wrong about. I had predicted that they were going to name their kid Charlie. They did not. The new kid is named Alec Neil Vance.
I mean, here's the thing. Sometimes couples have a child. I don't know, to fix some problems in the marriage. Perhaps when one member cheats on the other. Perhaps with the widow of a certain dead intellectual thing. I'm just spitballing here. Perhaps it didn't make Usha horny. It made her like, hey man, what the fuck?
Yeah, what are you doing with Erica?
To our family? Yeah. What's going on there? What's going on with that gargoyle?
Well, now that we've brute forced the plot, let's get to our first question. Is Vance a real Catholic?
No, next question.
No.
And I would present a piece of evidence. The church on the cover is a Methodist church.
Right, which speaks to the intentionality of this book. This is not for Catholics. This is for his base. This is trying to drum up a presidential run, or perhaps justify his presidency if Trump croaks at any point in the next couple years.
It's the same energy as when he throws out, the occasional pay-ins to like, there are people who make too much money, right? He's trying to claw back the people who really liked Hillbilly Elegy. He's trying to claw back the people who know it's unseemly to be visibly on the side of the rich, while, defending them at every turn. Hey, a billionaire told me this thing.
So there's I have 3 major reasons for why he's not a Catholic. And they're very obvious. One is that Catholics don't call themselves Christians.
No, they sure don't.
So I have never heard my mother refer to herself as a Christian.
Yeah.
And he just keeps saying, and the thing where he's like, well, what I've kind of realized is that if you believe in Jesus, that basically all you have to do is a Catholic. I'm like, no.
Nope. It's so much more than that.
Catholicism is a real religion, like Islam. There are things that you actually have to do and things that you actually believe. Mm-hmm. So, even though, the barrier of entry for becoming a Muslim is quite low, you just have to say the Shahada and, in theory, mean it.
Yeah, as Lindsey Graham did on his deathbed, yes.
Exactly, yes, he did. He said, I believe that there is no God but God and that Muhammad is his prophet, and then he immediately croaked, which means that he got to go to heaven, which I'm really happy for him. But yeah, all of this sort of foundational Catholic Christians, blah 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 blah. I'm sure, yes, Catholics technically are Christians. They believe in Christ, and that's what a Christian is. But Catholics do not think of themselves as Christians. At least they didn't when I was a Catholic.
No, it's like going to Yale. Once you go there, you can't stop talking about how you went to Yale. If you're a Catholic, you're going to tell everyone that you're a Catholic because you belong to a larger institution, right? You are a part of the great bureaucracy of God. And the way that JD Vance talks about his relationship with Jesus, I think is fascinating.
It's evangelical.
It is so evangelical. And also so distant. It's kind of a weird third thing for me because evangelicals are like, Jesus is my best friend who's looking out for me. And Vance is always like, I'm interested in him intellectually, but I don't know about this whole feeling thing, right? And even by the end of the book, I don't think he's a Catholic. I don't think he's a Christian. The man, I just hit my microphone. I'm so mad. But he doesn't he doesn't accept, like you said, Aisha, any of the tenets of Catholicism. That he's like, I really want to work for my salvation, and then he's just, but then I go to mass on Zoom, and it's you are physically able to go to mass. If you're Catholic, you go to fucking mass. You show up with your community. You take the fucking sacrament.
Yeah. The other thing is and this is a really common thing for born again trad Caths. Is they're yeah, I'm Catholic, but I'm not so sure about the Pope. And I'm Sorry, I'm sorry. He's infallible, and they're like, well, you know, I like Catholicism, but I have a couple theses I might want to nail to the door, and it's like, well, my guy, do I have a religion for you?
I cannot wait for
Jordan
JD Vance
Duther
to appoint himself anti-pope.
I want the Pope to excommunicate him just so this entire book is rendered null and void, right?
I think it just makes him feel too important. If the Pope excommunicates him, I think the Pope should just ignore him.
Yeah, but I mean, he is also the vice president. You know what I mean? Like, he already is important.
Right. Yeah.
Unfortunately, so we might as well, like, completely embarrass him as much as possible.
Make him feel bad.
Make him feel bad.
And Aisha, what was your last, or you had one more point, I think.
The last thing was, yes, not taking the sacrament and also being like, confession is a little bit weird. I'm like, the point of confession is, one, so an old pervert can hear all of your sins. Yes. Second of all, like, and this is, I guess, like, the idea behind it is that, like, in Protestantism, like, you just are like, I did a bad thing, but I told Jesus and he said it was okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It seems to be like the thing. But like in Catholicism, you, in order to get absolution, if you believe that's real and you care about it, is you have to, there is supposed to be a sort of mitigation on your actions, because in order to be absolved, you have to actually go and look somebody in the face and tell them what you did. Right? Which is, you know, a big part of Catholicism is shame. But sometimes shame is good.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, if you did a bad thing, sometimes it's good to feel bad about that until you make restitution for it. And what I like about Catholicism is that there is a process, and I think JD really likes this about Catholicism, is that there is a process, a step-by-step thing you can do to absolve yourself. It's not just this sort of like, I talk to Jesus in my own head and everything's okay. You have to go through you have to fill out the paperwork, you have to submit it to the proper people, they have to stamp it and then pass it on up to the higher-ups.
You have to say the act of contrition.
You have to say the act of contrition. There are things that you can do. Obviously, this leads to a lot of problems, and it's a way of the church, exerting control over its constituents, because it's like, hey, you have to go through us to get to God. So we get to like have power over you in a way that I think evangelicals are trying to avoid by saying we have a direct relationship with Jesus, so we don't have to deal with all the middlemen and all these indulgences and all that shit. But yeah, I think that denying that part of Catholicism is denying Catholicism itself, because it's one of the only things that separates it from just being an evangelical Christian.
There is a part in the first or second episode of Righteous Gemstones where Danny McBride prays and says, "What's up, Jesus? Please forgive me for my actions. You know what I do is not who I am." And that's what Protestantism is. And that's and then he's like, "All right, see ya." And that's also what JD Vance is like. You know what I do is not what I am. Despite he says regularly that you will know him by his fruits. He loves to say that. But
he loves Matthew. He loves Matthew 7.
That's another thing about Catholicism. Like, Protestantism or evangelicalism is about belief.
Right.
And Catholicism is about works. Mm-hmm. Like, you have to do things instead of just being like, I accept Jesus as my Lord and Savior. Bam. I get into heaven.
Dunzo.
Now I have to go around bothering people and getting them to say it too. Sorry, I'm really down on Protestantism in this. This has been bottling up for like years.
I think
listen,
we can
I've had to
take
listen to
it.
Adventures in Odyssey the last 5 years. I understand. Yeah.
My Catholic rage.
Yeah, the what you say about the just confession of Christ and you're in, if you're Protestant, versus the actual works that Catholicism demands is very, very apt here, because it's when you have a faith tradition that he claims to be a part of, that he claims to be influenced by, so defined by aesthetic, right?
Yeah.
And so defined by like words over like actions, right? It gives you a lot of latitude. It gives him a lot of latitude to elide what he's actually doing and saying, right? There's a bit early on that stood out to me when he's talking about how, first of all, he has a real fetish for like the congregation, right? For the ability of like a church to bring together people of like diverse backgrounds and whatnot.
Right.
He's never read Fighting Times by the Jonathan Melrod, you know. He has no respect for the power of organized labor to align such differences, you know. But here he says, the Christians I encountered were self-aware about the limits of politics and the complexities of their own coalition. They weren't as distracted by social issues as they were aware that social issues and liberals' unwillingness to budge on them forced an uneasy compromise. So he's talking about the forces that lead the evangelical circles that he moved in to be more conservative, right? And it's like, can we please explain our terms here? Like, by social issues, does he mean abortion access? Because that's a fairly bedrock matter of healthcare, right? Social issue gets used as like, oh, you know, you want a pony, you want everything to be perfect, right? That's bodily autonomy, right? And what he's aligning here is that, okay, like, whatever these people's differences in this congregation he was part of, preserving patriarchy is their chief concern. He doesn't come out and say this sort of thing because it would make him less popular.
Yeah, but he's a huge patriarch, yeah.
Yeah, well, famously, conservatives are willing to budge all the time. Like, the implication there is what? Like, the left are the stubborn ones and conservatives have never been stubborn before? Like, citations needed. You're citing a 2,000-year-old tradition here.
I'm sorry. I believe that some of his relatives would have watched Hillary Clinton win in 2016 and turn off the TV being like, well, I hope she's better than I thought she would be.
That's the other thing. The other thing. I'm reading this
always
and I'm
normal.
like, okay, who fucking stormed the Capitol?
Yeah,
JD?
man. Also, you're the vice president. If they storm the Capitol again, they might hang you this time, my guy.
In 2012, I was with my grandmother when Obama won a second term. She was watching Fox News, and I love my grandmother. I love my mamaw, also my mamaw. But when Obama won, she broke down crying and started saying they're going to euthanize all of us. And that's like was the median position of people I knew.
They are literally always like, they're going to kill all of us. And I'm like, brother.
White genocide beginning.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, I loved when Obama won, and then he said "Death to America." Like, no, what the fuck?
I remember
are you
the death
about?
panels were a big thing. That's they were like they're gonna set up death panels to decide whether you live or die, specifically for the elderly. Like, it's just like they're gonna decide who gets health care. And I'm like, what do you think insurance is? Like, how do you think insurance currently works?
Do we? I put this down here. I don't know. What are our thoughts before we get into what Vance likes about Catholicism? And this is linked to the adult Catholic convert trend in general. I was looking at it. According to Pew, there are roughly 4 million Catholic converts in the United States, making up 8% of the church. It's been significant. It has not canceled out the church losing numbers. Just that's how many people have left. Sure. Converts are much more likely to be conservative than the average Catholic by quite a bit. They are also more likely to be critical of the Pope, have doubts about the existence of transubstantiation, and they fall off actually going, but they talk about it a lot more online. These are all supported by Pew Research. I will link it in the show notes.
Wow. Yeah.
I think what you say about Republican white men is like the operative sort of phrase here. He says elsewhere in the book, right, there are recent statistics about an encouraging uptick in young people, especially young men, attending church, right? And it's like, okay, I think it might have something to do with, as I alluded to earlier, the churches you mentioned that say women should be subordinate to men, right? You know, state-assigned girlfriend, that sort of thing. But also, I think there is definitely a personal, like, charismatic sort of thing going on with Peter TL himself, right? I think TL is, you know, he's a billionaire. He can effectively reshape reality around him to the greatest degree possible to a human being.
Right.
But what he doesn't have is 2,000 years of tradition. What he doesn't have is 2,000 years of debate and scholarship and religious doctrine underpinning his power, right? And I really do think being in that position, being in the position of a pope, is attractive to such a person, right? And like in the future, in like several decades or centuries, if there's a major collapse, if these people want to build their own like fiefdoms, city-states, right? You know, they want to be in a sort of god king position. I'm spitballing here.
Yeah, and I think there's something too, like I remember when I was in college and I studied abroad in Ireland, somebody who I met there was like, why did you want to study abroad here? I was like, well, I wanted to like see where I came from. I wanted to see my ancestors and my ancestral land. And he said, yeah, you Americans really long for like a home, don't you? And I think about that a lot because we have our country is fairly new in terms of, being around in the world, and we don't really have traditions in the same sense that date back long enough to make us feel like we're part of something grander, which is what 250 is all about, right? It's about like reclaiming like this American past that never existed and building up the myth of the American, right? But it falls apart under the slightest bit of scrutiny. But like that is the longing, I think, especially in a lot of men who have felt that they are losing their place in society because media has told them that they're losing their place in society, even though society is just becoming more equitable, right? And I think that, like you said, Lenore, they're just trying to go to a place that tells them they are the most powerful and the most special boy.
I also think that there's a racialized aspect of the tradcath movement, because I think
absolutely.
that, like, not traditional, like, tradcath is like traditional Catholic, but they're not very traditional. In fact, they're like the opposite. But I think that like OG Catholicism to a lot of these guys is just a little bit too ethnic. Because like
very Italian.
Yes, very Italian, Irish, South American. Like most people from South and Central America are going to be Catholic. My wife, who is Chilean, was raised Catholic. And it is a very specific kind of, I mean, obviously it's different depending, where you are, but like there is a almost like certain kinds of Catholicism of the third world and of like older forms of Catholicism still kind of have their pagan roots in them. I know I'm kind of generalizing a little bit, like, but if you go and you look at those, those Jesus statues with the huge hands, or if you like look at like all of the statues that the bosses in Blasphemous are based off of, like there is a sort of like old world, I don't know, like there's like a swag to those things that I think is just a little too, I don't know, just a little too ethnic for these guys.
Yeah, they want their Jesus slathered in mayonnaise.
Yeah,
right?
They want they want him white, swole,
flavorless. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. See that, like, I don't think this guy was a Catholic, but that podcaster recently, that clip going around, he was like, "My Jesus is jacked. My Jesus had an 8-pack," and I was like, You can fuck men if you want. Like, that's fine.
Yeah, it's totally fine.
Jesus probably did.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, he had all those boys following him around.
Yeah, and that's fine. He never commented on the gay thing, so who can say? Speaking of why Vance likes Catholicism, I pulled a quote. We've actually kind of already talked about this a little bit, but to quote it directly, our Catholic friend Sam describes confession in this way that resonated with me. It's like therapy, but with less whining and more guilt. You can recognize the social aspect of sin, the fact that some people are influenced by the problems and even traumas of their youth, and you can also recognize that even a very damaged person is still responsible for their misdeeds. To skip forward a little bit, I found liberation in guilt. The recognition that I'd screwed up, that I must ask forgiveness of God and the people I'd wronged, forced me to think about my own conduct in a profoundly different way. And I think, like, we were getting at, there is something potentially liberating to the process of confession, having a ritual for how you can, purge yourself of the guilt. But JD very consciously, multiple times in this book, contrasts confession with therapy. And those have very different purposes.
Yes.
Therapy is, in theory, how to prevent the behavior. It is not to absolve you of the guilt of the behavior.
Right.
Any good therapist is not going to be like, it's actually fine that you're being a piece of shit. Like,
right.
A good therapist is like, here's how to stop doing it. I think, what is it, like, the thing that people say is that, like, your mental health is not your fault, but it is your responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to that point, right, throughout the book, we see his mental health in very, like, stark terms, right? He's driving home from a pumpkin patch with his newborn son, and he's just describing to Usha all the ways that they're gonna die, and he has very clearly what I call cop brain, which is like, I don't know if you saw that clip of that woman hanging out with her like cop husband, and he's just like scanning the crowd while they're sitting there for dinner. It's like, well, at least we know we won't die in this restaurant, because he's just constantly like checking people out. And I think
is there an IUD in the fajitas?
Yeah, well, exactly.
Awesome if he got
based on his time.
right then.
Yeah, and it's just like I'm like, you need to go to therapy to work through this shit, my guy. Yeah. No priest is going to make you feel safe in a public restaurant, especially now that you are the fucking vice president, and it's very likely that someone might try to take an attempt on your life. Yeah, I'm not saying they should. To be very clear, I'm not saying anyone should, but it's possible.
Right, yeah, disproportionately likely to the rest of the population. If you're putting out books like this, you're just making your chances worse.
Come on.
I mean, look, there are Catholic. You're more likely to have a Protestant do some crazy religious crime, but there are Catholics out there that are shooters for the Pope, and if you talk enough shit,
literally, they shoot people for the Pope.
Again, not saying it should.
Also, getting out in front of this. The Catholic Church sucks, and I'm not being the Catholic Church is good. That shit is crawling with pedophiles, Nazis, freaks. Like, even the woke Pope is like, transgenderism is like destroying society. Like,
he really hates gay folks too. Like, he's just like as good as he is on certain issues, he's still the Pope of an inherently evil organization.
Yeah.
Well, that's a perfect time. Aisha, would you read this quote that I pulled here about the pedophilia itself and how JD comments on, it was the middle of a pedophilia scandal that I converted to Catholicism, which, not to his credit, but like, when is there not a pedophilia scandal?
Yeah, right. Yeah, let me just...
Which one?
You can't give up on this institution just because it's going through a tough time, just because it's screwed up. And in that moment, I felt a strange sense of possession. This church, in a foreign country, empty but for me and my family, felt like it was mine. I owed something to it, and it owed something to me. Maybe it's all decay and decline. Maybe I'll raise my kid in this faith, and he'll think I'm a simpleton or an imbecile. But if the Titanic is going down, I'd rather be on board than hop on a lifeboat.
What? Are you talking about?
People died.
He's suicidal. Like, he's saying he wants to die there. Like,
Just Dance Vance.
Yeah, like... Also, like, so I admit, the only time, I'm just, like, not a spiritual person. Like, you see people who are like, well, I don't believe in God, but I am spiritual. I don't believe in God, and I'm not spiritual. I don't have, like, a hint of ritual in me. It was beaten out of me by having to go to church every Sunday. And like, Catholic Church, it's got swag. It is so fucking boring, probably compared to you don't even have, like, sick pop songs or whatever. There's not even a guy with a guitar up there.
Such a dirge.
It's just all the hymns from Midnight Mass, but, like, in a worse arrangement, sung by, like, 4 12-year-olds. But the only time that I've really ever felt the religious emotion for religion, because I argue that the artistic emotion is similar to the religious emotion, but I don't know, like, go read Iris Murdoch, she'll tell you about that. But so it was in Santa Maria del Fiore, the Duomo in Firenze in Florence.
Yeah.
And I, like, felt the Catholic emotion. But that's because that building rocks.
Yeah.
And you can climb on it in Assassin's Creed 2, and it's very cool. But
I also fist fought the Pope. It did not go well.
I also fisted the Pope.
Whoa!
That is not... I'm sorry. Like, that is the architectural grandeur that Catholicism has. Like, evangelicalism has the music, the light shows, but what Catholicism has is, like, the buildings, and they're designed to make you feel something. That is why you felt something, JD, not because of the pedophilia scandal emotion that came inside you or whatever.
Yeah. It is building big. You know, and look,
yes.
I don't blame him for feeling an emotion. Like you said, I went to the Vatican and I looked up at the big ceiling and I was like, God is real. Like, you know, we have built
right, but then the Italian security guard goes, Silenzio, and you're like, all right, we're just in a museum.
Put the wand away.
What was always funny for me was walking around Italy and going in these churches and being amazed and then reading the plaque, and it was like, fixed up in the Mussolini Reconstruction Project. I'm like, awesome.
Yep. Gold taken from the Holy Land. Uh-oh.
Right. And yeah, that also, if the Titanic is going down, I'd rather be on board than hop on a lifeboat.
What are you talking about?
It's kind of like you gotta read that one. Maybe you should have reread your book after you wrote it.
Yeah.
Nah.
Almost.
Well, maybe you should have, paid your wife more to fucking edit it or whatever.
Yep.
Maybe she should have been a better editor.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Usha's Patreon is struggling, is my understanding. So
look, I'm gonna get those numbers up. Okay, I'm going on to talk about Where's My Hat, and we are going to get those numbers up.
It's gonna be fire. Well, speaking of freaks, what is Teal's role in all of this?
Great
He says, Teal impacted me in another way, possibly the smartest person I'd ever met. He identified very openly as a Christian. No, he doesn't. He calls himself a Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
He defied the simple social template I constructed that dumb people were religious and smart people were atheists. I will note that Vance does not actually discuss his work with Teal. He just refers to it. So let me tell you what happened.
Please.
They two met in 2011. He was hired at Mithril Capital because everything that's a Teal associated is named after a Tolkien thing.
Damn it.
In 2015, a big part of Mithril is it's the way that Teal holds his share in Palantir. It's a massive source of money for funding war, surveillance, AI, robotics, crypto, drones, and other things. Teal's money further backed Vance's Narya Capital, named after the Elvish Ring of Fire initiative a few years later, alongside Mark Andreessen. Narya was critical in funding Rumble, the far-right online video platform, and Teal funded Vance's Senate run and vice presidential bid, not only with his own money, but bringing in his friends. This man is a creature of Peter Thiel, a man who, by the way, openly believes in monarchism.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Also, this book is so worthless because JD Vance became a Catholic because Peter Thiel was like, if you don't become a Catholic, I am going to turn the money spigot off. That's what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah. And I do think that Vance was initially attracted to Teal because he was just talking so much about Lord of the Rings, and that influences this book. Like, he talks about his kids having second breakfast, and I'm like, you gotta fucking calm down, my guy. Your kids are not hobbits.
Read another book.
Read a second book.
Yeah.
That's not, well, actually, he did read C.S. Lewis, so.
Yeah, we have an entire episode where it was like a bonus. I forget why we did it, but where we just like crashed out about an article about JD Vance's relationship to Lord of the Rings. And look, we have 4 episodes about Lord of the Rings plus that bonus one. Aisha's on the Return of the King episode, so we're not going to talk about Tolkien at length. Tolkien was not a left-winger by any stretch of the imagination, but he would have fucking hated JD Vance.
Yeah.
He also famously hated people saying that his book is an allegory, even though it clearly is in parts.
It
is. But he really hated that shit, and he hated Narnia for just being about Jesus.
Yes.
Yeah.
He also hated people that compromised the sanctity of the Catholic Church. Famously, when they started doing mass in English at his church, he screamed it in Latin over everyone else until his grandkids made him go to a different church.
He also hated Nazis.
Yes.
Yep. Which Vance is now, and I think a lot about what his mama would actually think of him now.
Right.
I think she would hate what he's become. Genuinely. I think he has abandoned the people that he swore to protect, because as much as he rails against elite society, he revels in it. There is no one who likes appearing on a talk show more than fucking Just Dance Vance.
Yeah, no, it's one of the only real points of human emotion. One of the only real resonant things in Hillbilly Elegy, because it is genuinely resonant, of course, is from Mamaw. She's the best character.
Yes.
But she says, there's nothing lower than a poor person pickpocketing another poor person, right? Somebody who's also immiserated as you are, taking advantage of them, right? And that's what he is doing. That's what he's climbed to be able to do, right? And he's constantly the Peter Thiels of this book, but also the Donald Trump of this book, right? Donald Trump, those men that he formerly disavowed and criticized for ripping off the Scots Irish or whoever, right?
Right.
They hang over this book like a shroud. His subordination to these people hangs over this book like a shroud, and you can really see it when he's talking again and again and again about, my faith journey has taught me that God can work grace through men who are desperately in need of it, right? And if you've read Tal Levin's book, if you've read his book, Wild Faith, right? What attracts evangelicals, what attracts, the religious right to Trump, right? It's this idea of this person who is an objectively terrible, immoral person as a Cyrus figure, right? Somebody who is not of God, but who nevertheless paves the way for God's people, right? That's how he fucking squares the circle of associating with his, like, investor friend who told him something, this billionaire who said, you're so lucky, right? That's
you're my special boy.
Yeah, exactly. And it's even I have the one thing that really gives me hope about the whole, like, Vance sphere and his mystique or lack thereof, right, is that this book is flopping in a way that Hillbilly Elegy did not.
That's true.
That's good to hear.
Also, if Vance was an actual Catholic, he would be able to recognize that Trump is more like the Antichrist than basically like any other thing. Like, he has basically all of the, like, they build a golden statue out of him. They worship him. Like, I don't believe in the Antichrist, but if I did...
Well, the problem is he listens to Peter Thiel about the Antichrist.
Yeah.
He's introduced a world currency. He's introduced a cryptocurrency. That's like the main thing in the Left Behind books.
Peter Thiel did a lecture on the Antichrist recently because he's obsessed with the Antichrist, and he said if I had to guess who the Antichrist is, it would be Greta Thunberg. And that's like literally what he's... And I'm like, come on. You are the scaredest, saddest, most pathetic people I have ever... Like, you're terrified of a what is she now? 21, 22-year-old girl in a frog hat who, non-violently wants to deliver food to starving people. That's who you're fucking scared of.
The right treat Greta Thunberg like she's Daenerys Targaryen.
Yeah.
Right.
And look, I would love to give her dragons.
Give Greta Thunberg a dragon.
Give her a dragon. Well, that's the thing, right? Is that they're so terrified of anybody with actual ideals who stand up for those ideals because they don't fucking have any. All they really believe and worship is how to get more money, right? Is whatever makes them richer.
You're absolutely right, AJ. Like, there's so much in here that he has about, like, not in terms of, like, he has platitudes about, like, the family being the best thing, right? He has, like, bizarre correlations that he draws between unrelated things to say that's why everybody should be a nuclear family and go to church and whatnot, right? He's not arguing on the merits of the ideas that he espouses when he says what ideas he espouses in the first place. Again, this is a very, very lightly cited book. But he's when he's communicating why you should join his coalition and why you should be a person of faith in the way that he is, right? What is he communicating? He's communicating, there's a spiritual decay. There is a lack of trust. There's, very, very, nebulous things that are detached from reality, right? Like, when he says early in the book, like, virtually everything we know is heavily mediated through some formal source of knowledge, right? And there's been a breakdown of, like, trust and, like, experts and whatnot. He's totally leaving out class interest. He is totally leaving out asking the next question, the necessity of that, which is, okay, what is this person who's telling me what I should believe and how I should act trying to communicate to me, and who benefits and how if I accept their information and frame it?
Yeah.
Also, all of the things that he's like, you can't get this anywhere but going to church. Like, you can't find anything with multiple races. I'm like, brother, just join a union.
Right.
Yeah. And he claims to advocate for unions, like, very strongly, right? He grew up, like, with relatives who are big union people, and yet he seems to have absolutely no familiarity with what a fucking union is.
Right. Or any kind of organization where people bring themselves together for, like, common interests. Like, I go to, Southern Fried Queer Pride events, like, here in Atlanta, and, like, we're passing out, helping, like, clothes swaps and stuff. And that's a multiracial coalition of very different people. You have, like, old gay men who are a little creepy, but I like them anyway, who survived, like, AIDS.
We know,
and then
Jacob.
you've got, like...
Whoa! Shit!
I'm a big fan, yes. And then when you've got like 19-year-old non-binary people who are like coming out of the closet for the first time, and they're like coming together over a shared interest of like giving clothes to people who need it and like sharing food, and like that's also a thing. And I'm not, dogging on people who enjoy religion. I do it sometimes, but I'm like, if you need that for your community, but Vance wants to present it as the only way people can self-organize. And he's constantly critiquing elite society, which, on its face can seem very legitimate. It's kind of the thing that drew people to Trump, him talking like this. And Vance is, putting it in maybe, more intelligent, slightly terms just because of how insane Trump is. But he's talking about, Yale and the elitism and the meritocracy. And of course, I can criticize that. Now, Vance describes Yale as a left-wing institution, despite
Which
what?
is so funny.
Bush, Samuel
Jesus
Alito,
Christ.
John Bolton, Ron DeSantis, Vivek Ramaswamy, Clarence Thomas, William Buckley, Michael Knowles, fucking JD Vance. Like, all these people come out of Yale.
I'll also say even its drama program is a lot more conservative than you might think.
When they're like, they push radical leftism on you in college. Like, I was like, I went to college. I didn't get any of that. I was a philosophy student. I have a philosophy degree. And that is entirely like middle-aged white guys explaining stuff to you from, hundreds of years ago. Like, of course, I wasn't doing like gender studies or anything like that. I don't think my school offered gender studies. And yeah, like there is this idea, I think, among conservatives that universities are woke. And one of them is because it's full of young people, and young people tend to be more progressive. That's just normal. It's been true of every generation. And then millennials are the only generation not becoming more conservative as we age because we don't have any property or money.
Right.
But also, I think, and this is like kind of a pat thing to say, but reality is woke. Right. Like real knowledge, like scientific consensus, actual historiography is liberal, quote unquote, like lowercase liberal. Like there is, I'm sorry, it is true through studies that the more diverse your workplace is, the better the work is. Like, that's just true.
Yes.
We can see what societies where people live the longest. We can see societies with the highest rate of satisfaction. We can these are provable, statistically provable things.
Right. It's why they have to build these like houses of lies, these palaces of lies around themselves, because the truth is that the world is woke, right? Like the actual day-to-day living is woke.
Okay,
that's cute.
Now that we're back, Lenore,
Yes.
I want to broach this to you since you're the other woman on the panel.
What's up?
Panel. Fucking go to
Yeah, we're a
conferences,
panel.
ass. Yeah, we're a panel. Okay, so what is
Hell
up
yeah.
with JD Vance's eyeliner? Because like there are, I mean, every guy on TV is wearing makeup, obviously. Like everybody in front of a camera is wearing makeup, but JD's always smudges and gives him this like smoky eye. Is it like, does he just not know how to apply it, or is he crying all the time, or does he just have a really small crease and he's using black eyeliner when he should be using brown? Like, what do you think?
Well, that's the thing. Like, I do notice a difference. It's actually like intra-brand as well. Like, I'm wearing like Milani, like black right now. The brown stuff I find usually sticks better. But like, depending on the sort of eyeliner you use, and how susceptible you are to like eyes watering, maybe it's the temperature, the humidity, whether you're allergic to something, perhaps, right? Whether you're fucking tired, right? Sometimes your eyes will just water, right? So it matters, like, okay, am I slapping this on like right before I leave? Has it had time to really set? Also, like, if it's on the waterline, as I tend to draw on the waterline, you have to sort of let that sit.
Right. Also, I mean, I have a really small crease, like, so it's a very, like, so I can't wear liquid eyeliner. It just smears all over my face.
Right.
And I have to use brown. Otherwise, I just like am raccoon-eyed instantly.
Right. Which is a look. It's a vibe.
Yeah, right. But like, and then people are like, love to be like, I don't know, like I'm sort of agnostic on is it okay to make homophobic jokes about homophobes? Like, I know that people are like, your gay friends will hear it, but I'm like, I'm also my gay friends, and I think it's kind of funny to make homophobic jokes, but
Depends
but yeah,
on the
I don't
spirit of it, I think, and the way it comes across.
I don't know what it is. Like, I'm just like, I don't know. Why does he have the Gerard Way smudged? Maybe he just likes it. Maybe he's just emo. I don't know.
No, yeah, I think that's absolutely right. It's very similar to like it's a lizard person thing, right? They're adopting this trapping of human aesthetic that they think they're doing correctly, but that somebody who actually lives in it, rather than just like slapping it on for a constituency, can point something out that's weird. I mean, my current obsession is Haley Stevens' voice, right? And how deliberate she sounds like the fucking Wicked Witch of the West relocating the Munchkins to the Quadling country.
Yeah. Nobody from Michigan sounds like that.
No, I talked to Josh a little bit about it, and he was like, "Yeah, no, it's purely performative.
It's it's like a cartoonish UP accent, but she's not from the UP.
It's very similar to Sarah Palin and like her affectation.
Well,
once she got on the campaign trail?
Do we think that there may be any encyclicals about how to apply your eyeliner? I think that would be useful because he talks for a minute about this. Is my attempt at a transition. He talks for a minute about an encyclical
nailing it
from Pope Leo the 13th, not the current Pope Leo. Called Rerum Novarum, which I think is at the heart of his like understanding of how like Christian, he uses the term Christian, not Catholic, economics should work. Where he says it's a Vatican encyclical and it argues against socialism and for class collaboration between workers and capital. Basically, he's tipping his hat to unions. He blames immigrants for bad wages. He notably talks about things in moral terms. Bosses should give their worker more money, should give their workers more time off. Not have to, not are restricted, not are forced to, but rather they ought to out of Christian virtue, which I agree. But he says, quote, "The decline of Christianity has left us without a shared moral language. Economics has stepped into the vacuum. We pretend there are scientific answers to questions of values," end quote. And then he notes, "I expect the problems to get worse in coming years, not better." And it's like, wow, wish I could talk to the vice president about this.
Yeah. I mean, scientific socialism, right? You can actually quantify, okay, what is being done with the resources, who owns the means of production and for what purpose, and following on from that, work out some way to distribute and delegate the tasks involved in running these things, right? It's just of a piece with this is what fascism is, right? Fascism is like pure aesthetic, and that's what he's trying to reduce everything to.
Yeah, I'm so sick of people in power saying, "I wish somebody could do something about this."
Yes.
And I'm just like, you are the one in control. I don't want you to enact what you think the world should be because I fundamentally disagree with you about what the world is, but don't pretend you don't have the power.
Right. I mean, that's one of the reasons that Zoran Mamdani is like so popular, right? I mean,
right.
Yes.
Zoran obviously has problems, and there's lots of things that I wish that he was better on, but he routinely is like, let me tell you what I'm going to do, how I'm going to do it. Look, I did it. I made a cute little video about it. Like that empowers him rather than like how all the other like Democrats are just like turning themselves, like basically victimizing themselves and being like, I am completely at a wash at the hands of fate and the hands of the Republicans. And even if
without me, they'll get you.
Right. Yeah. Even if Mamdani is just like filling potholes and stuff, like stuff that matters to people who live in New York, that still looks like a W on the board, and it makes him seem more powerful.
And contrast that to, Democrats do this too. You have Joe Biden 2 years into his term tweeting abortion rights now. And it's like, you are whatever.
You're
Joe
the
Biden
president of the United States.
Joe Biden didn't tweet that.
He didn't
to be fair,
tweet that.
but like the point stands. Like it comes off as extremely hollow. And JD Vance talking this way wants everyone to behave better. He wants employers to behave better. If we accept that JD Vance cares about like middle-class families getting paid a good wage, which I don't think he cares particularly much about, but maybe in his ideal world, white middle-class families would. God, he's constantly complaining about the meritocracy, and obviously I have like serious problems with the meritocracy, quote unquote, which is very much not a meritocracy, but he doesn't want to replace it with like some kind of egalitarianism. He wants to replace it with like white men being back to having money because they're white men, and that's not a good solution for the meritocratic bullshit. His all his complaints about like, oh, people are grinding for no reason for the GDP. That's his problem. There is capitalism. It's not just like, oh, well, we like changed how capitalism works. Like, no, it's not that. And
Right.
It's fucking infuriating.
And he has such disdain. He has such condescension. He is so deeply dismissive of the capacity for people to be educated and made protagonists of their own conditions, right?
Mhm.
When he, on page 87, when he's yapping about like the story of Job, right? And how God says, you cannot understand it, but I do. This suffering may not make sense according to your plans, but it makes sense according to mine. And to him, that is, a quote from him, unsatisfying in the way that life and death and any honest account of the world must be, right? He believes that we don't have the faculties to comprehend our situation.
That's because the Book of Job is good, but JD Vance is not. It's a well-written book. He also ties this back constantly to his real bugbear, which is natalism. Like that's what's really getting at him at all times.
Yeah.
And it is funny to talk about natalism with AJ because Josh is famously the one with the natalism podcast. But
yes.
But I mean, like
he's
says,
got to leave some natalism for the rest of us.
That's
TBH,
true.
he's had too much natalism for too long.
That's
Come
true.
on.
You got to have a good guy with some natalism to stop a bad guy with some natalism. Is this anything? He says we should care about whether men and women have healthy relationships strong enough to withstand life stressors that can lead to divorce. We should care about whether a man's children spend quality time with them. A corporate culture that tells us to worry more about McKinsey's bottom line than our family's health is insane. The McKinseys of the world are doing just fine. Do you know who isn't doing fine? The American family, which has taken the heart of that message that work and family are incompatible, that for the first time in our history, women are having fewer children than they want. And that's true. Like
he's
that,
right.
But
he is right that corporate culture is horrifying. You should be spending time with your kids, but el problema es el capitalismo. Like that meme, like me throwing down on una conversación casual. The problem is capitalism. Like, that is the problem, and he can't say it because he is LARPing at being a conservative, even though I don't really think that he is one. Just the same thing as I don't think Trump is a conservative either.
No. They just go where the power is.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like this book constantly, what I find so funny about this book is that it always will reference, like, talking points like in the conservative movement, but JD Vance goes out of his way to say how stupid those talking points are before doing but actually it's good, like at the very end after like spending several pages saying how stupid an idea is. It's one of those things like they hate, like Trump hates his base like with a fervent passion, right? All he wants is for one Broadway diva to tell him he's been the special boy, but he'll never get that, so he has to go where he gets the the lionization and the idolization, and that's from these people he actively hates.
Yeah, he thinks all of his followers are pigs. He thinks they're hogs.
He didn't even show up to that like America Christian revival thing that like people were hyping up so much. He sent in a video, a pre-recorded video that he also sent to multiple other Christian events over the last month. It's the same. He didn't even make different videos.
You cannot, as the president, make videos the way that I make shout-out videos for casts of puffs that happen, where I just have a template and fill it in. You cannot do that as the president!
Also, like, as much as it pains me to say this, I don't think that JD Vance is stupid. Like, I don't think he's stupid in the way that Donald Trump is stupid. I think Donald Trump is just a dumb guy. JD Vance, I think, is actually, like, JD Vance is a bad person, and a lot of his thinking is flawed, but you can feel him actually making arguments and then stamping down on them because he can't say them, because he cannot cross the party line. And I mean, like, I think that smart fascists are more dangerous than stupid fascists, so I don't want him to be president. I think that he's less chaotic than Donald Trump is, but I think that's also more dangerous because you won't notice all of the evil in the way that you do with Trump, who just kind of, takes his dick out and pisses all over the money.
JD edited the like law review journal at Yale. Like, he's got intellect. Whether or not he uses it in this book is a different question. Sorry, AJ. Go ahead.
I could very well see JD Vance in like 10 years writing a book about how he became a Democrat.
Mhm.
Sure.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, I 100% think that all this man is interested in is power because when he was a kid, he didn't fucking have any.
Yeah.
Right? As much as he says that he was not a victim, this entire book is just like, JD, you were a victim.
Yeah.
You have to take accountability. Like, and that was not his fault. And he says that. It was not my fault. But I don't think he believes it. And he has spent his entire life outrunning that trauma and pushing it down,
Right.
which is why it comes boiling to the surface every once in a while in his writing and in his actions.
I can't help but think, AJ, you've reminded me. I can't help but think of that bit where the priest that he meets that helps him, like, convert to Catholicism ostensibly.
Yes.
He's like, yeah, I read your book and I've read you for total codependent filth, right?
Right,
like,
yeah.
Your entire life, you've bounced between complete dependence and independence. Your grandmother was your savior. Your sister was your savior. Your aunt was your savior. Now Usha's your savior. She is not your savior. Jesus is, right? I think that, I think that Father Henry believes what he's saying, but like that's the problem is that is Vance believes in nothing.
Another anecdote that sounds fake. Like all of the anecdotes in this book are just like classic conversion stories that you've heard thousands of times if you've spent any time in a church.
Yeah. Absolutely. Right down to the fucking car thing, all of that. The car thing is in multiple movies. I mean, that's in like Sergeant York. He's on a horse and he gets knocked off and barely survives like a strike of lightning. You've got Jesus Take the Wheel. That's a Carrie Underwood song. Things like that. Like now maybe some of it happened, but it's impossible to know. And he's such a cynic. It's impossible to believe anything he says. This is a man that less than a decade ago was calling his current, favorite guy, Donald Trump, Hitler. Now, maybe these days he would be like, well, who says that's a bad thing? I don't know. It depends how bad we end up.
I mean, he's perfectly happy to, yap about how, like, yeah, I went to the Munich Security Conference, which was started by a Nazi.
Yeah.
Also, all of these, like, miraculous things that, like, oh, I felt like, I crashed my car and I was thrown clear. It must have been Jesus. It's like, okay, sure. But also, like, physics and, like, natural law allows for cases like that. Like, thermodynamics is just molecules bouncing around, and sometimes 1 in a million chance they all bounce to one side in a second.
He said he felt the presence of God more than any time in his life when he heard the same song twice in one day. And it's like, JD, didn't you have 4 kids? Like, did you not feel the presence of God?
I want to talk about that a little bit while we're on the topic of natalism, right? Having kids seems to be the worst thing that happened to JD. Like, he talks about how important it is for everybody, but in all of his descriptions of his kids, he always says the best year of his life was when he was living in Cincinnati with Usha alone, childless, right?
Yes.
They were just in their apartment, right?
It was just Usha's footstool for 8 hours a day, his favorite place to be.
Exactly.
And I love that for him.
Get that leash. And like you have all of his descriptions of his kids, but it's all about how much he didn't particularly like his son for the first time, which again, that's a very normal thing for parents.
Yeah.
But like he talks about it in the book, and then he doesn't really provide counterexamples of how the kids have brought him life or light in his life. They're just like, I had them because I was supposed to, and it made me feel important. I was the special dad, It's like this, having his son being born was life-changing, but living with the consequences of having a kid, he seems to not like it particularly much because it causes him such anxiety because he doesn't know how to be a dad. Right?
My man should have just gotten a cat.
Right.
Yes!
He's the childless cat lady.
And he says, he's talking about population decline. He says, quote, the reason for population decline are complicated, but the best explanation, to be clear, he does not cite his sources on this one, ties to religiosity and secularism. The more religious the country is, the better it fares with family formation. This is why Israel alone is exempt from this trend. Our abandonment of Christian culture has coincided with an apparent decline in our collective will to live. And then
they real Christian in Israel.
Yeah, their favorite thing to be.
Also
population
you said you wanted to go down with the Titanic. What are you talking about?
Also, not all populations have grown in Israel over the last few years, JD. And then he immediately goes, James Dobson speaks to this. And I was like, James Dobson Vance. Oh no.
Oh
His back, baby.
Of course that James Dobson's ghost had to fucking appear in this book. It was inevitable.
Fuck.
Well,
look, maybe it's just because I've been playing a lot of Undertale lately, but is JD Vance just Frisk and James Dobson is the Chara that's possessed him?
Piloting him?
Yeah. Yes. Correct, AJ. That's actually exactly what it is. Yeah. I when you guys shouted me out in that episode, I laughed so hard I scared my cat.
Yay!
You guys were like, Aisha's gonna yell at us.
This episode has been a ruse. We're here to have.
We're here to yell at you.
No.
Yeah, we're here to like be like all your people in your comments who are like, you're wrong about Undertale.
yeah, we got some of that, and I think we just didn't really understand. I think the Undertale community and how they're very passionate about.
It takes a really
property and
high IQ to understand Undertale. Actually,
I've been told this.
Yeah. Well, what was I going to say? What were we talking about before we talked about Undertale?
Well, we were talking about. I think we got.
Dobson.
I think we noted the natalism stuff pretty well. I want to just say one thing one more time. We said it earlier. He makes it clear that Usha did not want to have more children until Charlie Kirk died, and that's crazy. And I think AJ may have nailed the reason for that. We don't know for sure. This isn't a claim we have no evidence of, but one way or another, that's very strange.
Yeah, I mean, it had to be an agreed upon narrative with Usha because Usha was editing this book, right? So whatever we get in here is what they are telling people, and this is the line. This is the party line that we've drawn for ourselves.
Charlie Kirk also in this book. I just have to ask, like, what a weird way to close the book. He was like, my dad and Charlie Kirk died together. So my dad, not a big deal. He died of throat cancer and he refused to get treatment because he's stupid. Charlie, much bigger deal. He also died of a throat thing. But Lenore, you said something in the chat and I'll give you the chance to say it because like is he stupid thing that killed me.
In the months after Charlie's death, I often picked up the phone to call him. I always hung up quickly, realizing before the first ring that my friend would not answer. And if you follow me on Blue Sky, just the other day I said, why did he do that? Is he stupid?
Like, yeah, no, you didn't.
Another thing, like, no, you didn't. Fake anecdote. Fake.
Absolutely
You
not.
didn't do that.
You were calling his wife?
Yeah.
Allegedly.
But also, God, that like, all black, like the hat and everything, like podcast outfit of Erica Kirks is going to be everywhere for fucking gay Halloween. That tweet was absolutely right. Well, like, JD Vance may not be a stupid man, but like, he thinks that we're stupid, right?
Yes.
He thinks that the readers are stupid. He thinks his constituents are stupid. He talks about Charlie Kirk like, oh, like he was a principled guy who, got some people like hot-headed. But for every video of him, saying something controversial, there's like a dozen of him being, very measured and like reasonable. It's like, yeah, for every video of him saying black people are unintelligent and can't fly planes, there's a dozen videos of him, very calmly, like keeping his composure as some college student, very rightfully yells at him because they're rightfully angry that there's a fucking Nazi on campus, right? He mentions the fucking like opioid epidemic in this country, right? Again, like just as in Hillbilly Elegy, right? He never fucking names the Sacklers. The opioids were just discovered in the earth one day, like evil crystals draining the vitality from the land and devouring people's souls.
I hate when that happens.
Right? Like that's the thing. Like yeah, yes, exactly. Oh my God, it's all connected. Holy shit.
It's all Adventures in Odyssey. James Dobson is here and will never leave us.
TPUSA on my college campus, I mean, they literally were like showing up, like, because I was like a left-wing organizer on campus, showing up at my apartment and harassing me regularly. They were setting up tables and just screaming at students they thought didn't belong on campus. And they were allowed to stay there doing that because our campus said it was free speech. They were like going to our pride organization and like infiltrating it and just like causing problems and like fucking up things up and trying to get positions of influence to mess with us. By the way, that pride organization, because of an order from Brian Kemp, has been dissolved. There is not a Georgia College Pride Alliance anymore, though my understanding is there is an informal one that's still doing great work, but the campus refused to. The campus isn't allowed to give them a space anymore. Shit like that. That's what when we had an anti-fascist rally because Jewish and black students were finding swastikas carved into their doors and their cars busted into, TPUSA held a counter protest because we were infringing on free speech. That's the kind of thing that Charlie Kirk brought into the world. I don't think killing him did anything to change anything. I don't I've made that clear. Whatever. I don't think there was any political win from that or anything. I'm not saying that was a good idea. I am saying let's not fucking pretend that this guy was anything he wasn't. And closing it on that is such a cynical and that brought me closer to Jesus and made me want to fuck my wife more. And it's just fuck you.
No,
I don't know.
Yeah, it's so fucking vile. It's so fucking cynical. And whether he's a conservative or not, whether he's totally what he is able to sit there and do. I mean the climax of this of his whole sordid political project and how he comports himself, I think, is on page 147, 149, but where he's meeting with Pope Francis, right? And he's meeting with Vatican authorities, and they're telling him, hey, maybe your administration should lay off the immigrants, right? Maybe you should pull back on the whole ICE thing. And he's like, well, you're being very vague, what do you have specific policy critiques? And it's motherfucker, the priest does not confess your sins for you. You know what you're fucking doing with ICE. You know what you wanted to do at the time you met with Pope Francis, and how obscene it is that this is right after he gives us another dumb fucking anecdote about his children, while he himself, very likely will end up heading up the whole fucking murderous family separation machine by the end of this year. And he can just sit there and go, well, golly, Mr. Bergoglio, what is it you object to? Fuck you. You will never see heaven, Mr. Vance. I hope hell is real.
Yeah. Yeah, this guy sucks. He's not stupid, but he is evil.
Yeah.
So.
Jesus denying Vance.
Yes.
That's so true. That's really true. More and more people are saying this.
Do we feel like this book works at all for anyone? Because I was looking at the reviews. The Guardian praises the book, but says it doesn't square with Vance's politics. The New York Times pretty much praises it and says, we appreciate his willingness to acknowledge his mistakes. Because the fucking New York Times has become a
fuck
rag.
you.
The Atlantic review is actually quite good, despite my well-known beef with the Atlantic. I've always said that it's called that because it needs to be dropped in the middle of it. But it says it called it a collection of what I suppose you can refer to as anecdotes, which I thought was a great description of this book.
Well, the New York Times, it really just encompasses what the New York Times is, that they liked this book and that they panned season 3 of Interview with the Vampire, which is one of the best seasons of television I've seen in a decade. They're just they don't like anything that's good.
Yeah. And they can't be wrong about people.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And so they put all their chips on Hillbilly Elegy Guy, and they are desperate for some sort of legitimacy inside this White House, right? They desperately want there to be some adults at the wheel, because Trump isn't it, right? So maybe it can be JD.
To its credit,
the monkeys are running the circus. I'm sorry. That's just true.
Yes, and they helped do it. I should say the National Catholic Reporter, to its credit, even said JD dodges every hard question and contradiction that has to do with Catholicism.
Judgment dodging Vance.
That's right.
And it's also one of those things that you hear this argument too. Vance argues about Catholicism the way that liberals argue about government, right? You can't let a few bad apples spoil the bunch, even though that is the phrase. A bad apple spoils the bunch is the fucking
And he literally
phrase.
uses that. He literally says that when he's talking about fucking pedophile priests.
Yes. You gotta, and Colbert talks about this a lot too with his relationship to Catholicism. He's like, you can't throw away the whole thing just because parts of it are bad. There's good in there worth preserving. And I'm just like, then take the good and make something new, my guy. Make something fucking new.
And if you have the most cursory, the most basic knowledge of, what came before, of what the old was like, right? When he talks about the national reconciliation after the Civil War being fucking Ulysses S. Grant giving Lee's starving army food, right? Yeah, that's your reconciliation. That's two halves of white America crushing the parallel structures the oppressed and the enslaved were building at that time, which our schools don't even acknowledge, that's, I'm sorry, if that's national reconciliation, fuck your nation.
That's another thing that just kept standing out to me, and I bring this up a lot, and it makes me sound like the friend who's too woke, but there are so many times when, not just in this book, but in like so much popular culture, where it's like, this is great for everybody. Anybody can go into the Catholic, into a church and feel welcome. Not everybody, Vance.
No.
Not everyone, Just Dance Vance. Because you are a white guy, so everything is for you. Mm-hmm. Everything is open to you, even if it's not exclusively for you. It is also kind of for you.
Yeah.
Like, even I am the men's rights activist on this podcast. I am the one who's like, but this is also bad for men. What about men? That's just my, it's just my role on the podcast. But
you
like,
keep selling supplements in a really big way, Aisha.
I know. I really see, I told you I'm broke. I need to make some money. So please buy my supplements. But yeah, like, this is like, weirdly, I had the same kind of thought of like, when I think one time when me and you, AJ, were talking about Persona 4 and my main gripe with it, which is it is an incredible game as long as you're a straight guy, because every other type of person, it feels like a punch in the face. At many parts of that game.
Yes.
And it makes it impossible for me to say I like this game, even though it's a great game. But like, that is like, no, I'm gay. I can't just go into church and have them welcome me with my wife, with my Latina wife.
Right.
Like,
ICE is going and getting people at church. They're going and getting people their fucking green card appointments. Like, there's nowhere that's safe.
So, like, he has this, like, he literally has this sort of almost like liberal, like, ideal, like the ideal society that you get in like books sometimes, like Red, White, and Royal Blue or something like that, like this wonderful society where everybody is equal and we've gotten rid of it. It's a very like liberalized view of the world, actually, because my man like is a liberal. He basically is. He just, espouses all of the stupid talking points to get him, credit from like Daddy Teal. And hopefully one day, what happened? No, I won't say that. I can't. That's actionable. Anyway, ignore that. In Minecraft. So, yeah, but like, it's like, no, JD, all of the things that you point out about church is like not true for anybody except your particular kind of person.
I mean, when I went into I was looking at a cathedral in Italy. Like, I was at a cathedral in Italy with a man, and we were holding hands. We were looking at it because the architecture was amazing, and I got called a faggot by some guy. Like walking by, he was like, "This isn't for you, faggot," and whatever. And I was like, "Okay."
In Italy?
Yeah, which is crazy.
That's so
that
funny.
Guy looked
That is like
that guy looked way gayer
that's
than me.
faggot central.
Yeah, that guy looked way gayer than me, I have to say. But and, whatever, it bounced off of me. I've dealt with it before. I've dealt with way worse in the Southern Baptist Church. But my point is, like, no, obviously not. You know what I mean? And that's what it is. And there's a reason that, the Catholic Church is shrinking and other churches are shrinking. And it's not, if they were these amazing institutions that are perfect in all the ways JD lays out, or in other ways, wouldn't be the case. Well, is there anything else y'all wanted to hit briefly before we move to our conclusion?
I would just like to read a quote from this book that I think sums up JD Vance pretty well in my head.
Yeah.
And it's on page 74. And it is a little bit of a disingenuous reading because I'm going to read the full quote after it, but I'm going to read just an abbreviated version of it first. And I hope you can spot the problem with it. Quote, "Hating black people for the color of their skin is unpopular and also clearly wrong. But
exactly.
Now I'm going to read.
However,
for the sake of being fair, here is the whole quote. Hating black people for the color of their skin is unpopular and also clearly wrong, but I felt that social pressure exerting a powerful force on me in subtler ways." And I'm like, you know what you're doing, right? You know what you're doing. You are constructing that sentence to have that but because it's a dog whistle for the very particular group of people that you want to vote for you in your next presidential run. This whole thing is just a presidential announcement ticket, basically. Vote for Vance. And I'm sorry, dude, you don't have the fucking sauce.
No.
This book is a rambling diatribe of anecdotes that you made up loosely. It's so hard to read it because it's just like, and then, and there's no connective tissue. Like, it's a peek into the mind of a paranoid, anxious maniac who has somehow found his way into the vice presidency, stumbled his way, gosh golly, dig it, even though he was definitely planted there, by forces more powerful than him that he doesn't even seem to realize, right? And if he does ever become president, he's just going to be the puppet of those people that he thinks he is.
Jefferson Davis Vance. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, you suck. We hate your pussy. Fuck you.
Well, you know what we don't hate? The AJ and the stuff that you're working on. AJ, would you like to? Most people will be familiar with your work, but for those that aren't, could you please give us what you're working on, what your deal is, and some other the cool stuff over at the Worst of All Possible Worlds, and anything else you might want to plug?
Yeah, so I co-host a podcast called The Worst of All Possible Worlds. We do weekly case studies in the pop culture of a dying empire. These last 2 weeks we have done upcoming this week will be The Amazing Digital Circus, and
sick.
Yeah, and then and we did Undertale, as we talked about a little bit earlier. And we, I always say if there's something in pop culture you like, we've probably done an episode on it at some point. And just check our back catalog, see if there's anything you like there. In terms of things that people might not know about, and I'm going to start promoting this more heavily on the podcast in the coming weeks, my play is going up in Maine. It's called...
Let's go.
It's at Portland Stage. It's called Heart of Duckness. It is a play about the Berlin Conference of 1884, where Europe divided Africa amongst themselves in what I believe to be the single greatest act of human hubris in our history. And it is, but every character is a duck, so it's overseen by Otto von Bisquack. And and I think it is a great, fun time that is also a searing indictment of imperialism and what it means to what it means to try to change evil systems from the inside, and whether that's possible. Spoilers, it's not. It's absolutely not. You do have to cast off the systems. In many ways, I wrote it 10 years ago, and it's very clearly me divorcing myself from liberalism and becoming a socialist in real time as you go through the script. And I think that it's going to be a great deal of fun. And I can send you all a link if you want to go get tickets to that. We run August 20th through September 4th.
Ooh, so I will try. If the link is up, we can put the link in. Will the link be up by the time this comes out next Monday?
Yes, it will.
Okay, then it will be in the show notes, folks. If you are in Maine or anywhere near there, go check it out. Lenore or Aisha, do one of you want to plug the Patreon before I do our conclusion here?
Yeah, we have a Patreon. We have a bunch of cool stuff coming up and up there already. There's a really good Article Brain, the Return of Article Brain, that Lenore is hosting.
Hey, monthly.
Jacob and Lenore read a really great article about the Odyssey that was really good.
Hell yeah.
And about
Christopher Nolan's Adventures in Odyssey.
Yeah, Christopher Nolan's. He adapted Adventures in Odyssey.
Finally, someone else is doing it.
I have actually, it will have already come out by the time you guys hear this, but I have an author interview. I'm going to be doing Aisha's Author Corner, where we interview any authors we have on the pod. And then we have that behind the paywall. First is Brendan Crilly, who is a Canadian sci-fi author. And then he is on the episode that was released last week, The Incandescent. Also, I'm going to be paneling at Gen Con. Actually, you know what? By the time this comes out, I will have already paneled at Gen Con. Never mind.
Yeah.
Hey.
Cut that.
Get fucked, those of you that weren't
Sucks
at Gen
to
Con.
suck. You missed it.
Yeah.
You'll be back. You okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Kick Your Radio.
Fantastic. Yes. Go and support the Patreon. Somebody complained about our audio, and it's like, that's fair. But also, if you give us money on the Patreon, that's something that we can work on.
My audio is definitely ass. Sorry. Not sorry.
It's
I'm
way
broke.
better. Hey, I went back and listened to one of our third episode ever because Ebenezer Scrooge is in the discourse because of that Johnny Depp movie that's coming out. And hey, it's all of us sound way better than those days. Let me tell you.
Hey, you know what? Before he was Scrooge, he was Ebenezer, which is not true. He's been both the whole time. That's his first and last names. What the fuck are you talking about?
Before he was Vance, he was Just Dance. Well, JD, to close this out, JD numerous times in this book quotes Matthew 7, which he says, a single phrase kept returning to my mind, by their fruits ye shall know them. It comes from a parable Jesus recounted in Matthew. He goes so far as to name the epilogue of the book after the chapter. And I have to ask what the fruits of the life of JD Vance have been recently. In 2024, when JD and Donald Trump claimed Haitians in Springfield were eating pets, far-right media flooded the town. Families stayed home, children's schools had bomb threats called in, mass layoffs were reported among the Haitian community, and the town's economy has been hit hard. When pressed on the truth of the claim about eating pets, JD laughed and he said it did not matter if it was true or not, because it's spiritually true of what Haitians do to the United States. As of just a few days ago, hundreds of thousands of Haitians in this country just had their temporary visas revoked, and there is expected to be possibly as many as 400,000 deportations. That is what the State Department says, or Department of Homeland Security says is their intention. In 2024, JD Vance promoted, praised, and wrote an editorial review and blurb for Unhumans, a book by Jack Posobiec that openly says all communists, and he defines communists as almost every Democrat, don't deserve political rights or freedoms and can and should face political violence and mass arrest. It called for the suspension of democracy altogether. Vance wrote, quote, in the past, communists marched in the streets waving red flags. Today, they march through HR, college campuses, and courtrooms to wage lawfare against good, honest people, end quote. In Unhumans, Jack Posobiec and Joshua Lisek, he further said, reveal their plans and show us what we must do to fight back, end quote. JD's words. After Renee Nicole Good was brutally murdered in front of her wife after dropping off her 6-year-old child at school, JD Vance publicly claimed she was part of a radical left-wing network of terrorists, and her death was her own making and deserved no investigation. Her car had not even been moved by the time he said this. Her blood was not fully dried on the street. Indeed, JD Vance has led and cheerleaded a campaign of violence and terror across the country, inflicted by ICE thugs against everyday Americans he claims to cherish. He has made a habit, in fact, of posting memes and quote-unquote badass edits of the violence. The economy has gotten worse for working people. The Trump and Vance admin has focused exclusively on the stock market, despite what JD says in this book. According to polling, a large majority of Americans believe they've made the economy worse, and almost everyone in the country says they don't believe the country's financial situation will get any better anytime soon. According to Pew, 71% of people say they're scared about the price of healthcare, 66% the price of food, 64% the cost of housing, 56% the cost of gas. I will note that research was done a few months ago. I would imagine some of that is worse now. JD Vance has worked on the blockade of Cuba, which has led to children dying for lack of energy and ventilators. He's advocated for more weaponry and support for Israel and cheered on the demolition of Gaza and southern Lebanon. JD Vance endorsed the killing of civilians in Venezuela and in the Caribbean and in Iran and in Yemen and in Somalia and elsewhere. I should note the violence in Latin America especially and against immigrants here is disproportionately likely to hurt his fellow Catholics. It hasn't stopped departments under his governance from posting crusader crosses during gloating posts about the Venezuela attack. He took part in negotiations with the Iranians, knowing full well they were a ruse for future attacks and planned to kill the very people they negotiated with. As we speak, he continues to take part in this. JD Vance fully intends to run for president in 2028 with a platform of obeying whatever orders he gets from Peter Thiel and the Heritage Foundation. He will seek to continue the campaign of terror against the nations of the world, queer people, women, immigrants, the poor, and anyone he sees as the enemy of his brand of white Christian nationalism. In short, we've seen JD's fruit, and that shit is rotten. Sorry to close it on that note, but
no, that was
there
beautiful.
we go. Fuck JD Vance, y'all, and thanks for listening. See y'all next week.
Take care.
Bye.
Hey.